I met with several presidents, world leaders, diplomats, very powerful people to facilitate this. The narrative that was spun against me, there's a reason for that. If you know that the CIA has been opposing me, you would know full well that the narrative creation abilities by the intelligence agencies are great.
The opinions of the guests and host are their own and do not represent the opinions of Ironclad, the Border Patrol, or the Department of Homeland Security.
Welcome to Borderland, Narcosis, and Ironclad Original, presented by First Form. First Form supplements, you guys can go check those out at firstform.com/Borderland. My next guest is Jordan Goudreau, who was a special forces soldier who eventually went into contracting. Here's how the story goes. His producer reached out to us because they did a documentary, and he was a part of a coup in Venezuela. It didn't go well. And then he outed everything on social media. This is a very interesting story. It's very complex. I asked a lot of questions. Some I got straight answers, some I didn't. Sometimes I respected the fact of his clearances that he had in the past. And so I was trying to ask questions that I think would help tell the story that you deserve to hear. I think you're going to like this interview, but trust me, it is bizarre. We talk a lot about cartels, drugs, different things like that. We even talked about immigration at one point. And recently in the news, we've been seeing a lot of Venezuela conversation, the boats and things like that. And so by chance, as we're looking for an interesting story, one of your, I believe, directors of the documentary said, hey, this might be an interesting story. And I'm like, you think? We would love to hear that story. And so for the audience who probably doesn't know, if you don't mind, can you give a brief bio of yourself before we get into the story?
I'll keep it brief.
Yeah.
Wow. Canadian Army at 17, infantry. This was in parallel with going to university for a computer degree, graduated, was recruited by my uncle. He was the drug czar of Ronald Reagan. His name is Ian McDonald. The Just Say No to Drugs. That was his slogan. I don't want to be presumptuous, Vince, but you're around my age. I'm not sure. And by
you look a lot better than I do. I'll tell you that.
By my age, I'm saying maybe around, late 20s, something like that. Anyways, so after, I get pulled in, I streamline his company. He has a drug testing company. He's private at this point. I get pulled in for I have a TN visa. I'm Canadian. Ultimately, I then go into the military, which is my overall objective. I think it was there 6 months. And then I start, airborne infantry. And then I'm levied to Alaska. I start in 82nd, which those dudes they're hardcore about being hardcore, man. They're serious dudes, and it was awesome. It's an incredible unit. I was 3505, 3 Panther. After 82nd, I was levied to Alaska, which is they call it the Hunting and Fishing Brigade, but I loved it. It was airborne infantry, Fort Rich. I went to Ranger school from there. So as you know, there's no pre-Ranger. You get just thrown into the wolves. And so I think 8 people came from Alaska to Ranger school, and it was me and one other guy who came back with our tabs, or short tabs. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
From there, just went to special operations when I came back for the unit. I was successful in GB selection. I was, picked up for if you do too well in the academic portion and all the testing you do, the personality testing and whatnot. If you score, I guess, at a certain academic level, they pull you for the 18 Delta course, which is either a blessing or a curse. Because it's a year long and it's incredible. That said, I was pulled into the 18 Delta course. So after that, you obviously do language and SEER and Rub and Sage and whatnot. And really your intelligence, and this is leads into, further on to the discussion. You begin your intelligence training with Robin Sage. You work by, with, and through indigenous individuals, and you try to gain their trust, and you try to use them in whatever insurgency or whatever operation that you're conducting. After Sage, obviously you graduate, you go to your unit. Well, I was doing combatives with one of the instructors. His name was Johnny Long, big dude, 6'4", and he couldn't understand how, a 5 foot nothing, 100 nothing pounds white boy could give him so much trouble in the MMA arena. And Johnny Long and I would get after it. He was a tough dude. He was amazing, but he was impressed with my ability to, and obviously I have wrestling and all the way in mixed martial arts ever since I was a kid. Anyways, he makes a call to 5th Special Forces Group, to the CRIF. And at that point, it was called the CIF, the Commanders in Extremist Force, which is when they deploy, it's a JSOC element, right? Which when they don't deploy, they're siege or whatever. They're under siege sort of. And when they deploy, sometimes they're under siege. But the reality is it's a very specialized unit, and it's a unique unit because it gets, two sources of funding from JSOC. And obviously when they deploy into the JSOC mission, there's always a bit of confusion as to who controls them. Although, the squadron commander will never admit to that. But when something goes not according to plan, maybe there's a little question as to who owns us when we're in theater. Anyways, that said.
So when we started looking at Venezuela, like we said, one of your directors reached out to us and said, hey, there's a lot to the story. And I'm like, well, we'd love to hear it.
Vince, briefly, I was remiss in my research of you. I was told something. So were you in your army?
I was with 2nd to 75th Ranger Regiment, did 4 years with them, 3 tours.
Those are big
After
boys,
that,
man.
Yes, sir. I was an Army Ranger as well. Got my tab. Class zero. What is it? 0206, 0602, one of the two around. Flipped around. I was distinguished honor graduate of that class. Somehow, some way, it just happened, right? I fell asleep, woke up, and I had that damn thing. After that, I went into the Border Patrol, and I was Special Operations for the Border Patrol as well. I was part of the SOG unit, and that's the national team for the Border Patrol. And then I resigned to go into film and television, which then, fast forward, put me into the journalism space of telling the story about the border. And so here we are.
Amazing.
So it's a subject that I know very well and very intimately. I've spent a lot of time on the border working that, and I've just been trying to help people understand it better. And I've just kind of been a conduit to allowing people to have a platform to tell what they know.
Great. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, that's reminiscent. I love those. Like I have a soft spot in my heart for Rangers, man. We got no massive tick, which is obviously beyond the scope of this show, but maybe offline. We got a massive tick with these boys, and it had something to do with being in, what the chap once said was that was the Garden of Eden you guys were in. And, Rangers, we were all hunkered down behind tombstones, getting shot up, and like tombstone pieces flying everywhere. And, IPs were blasted. It was chaos. But like I said, I won't recount that. Maybe later.
Well, let me talk about this Venezuela story, because here's from my notes. It's a little blurry on my end, trying to get all the information. I haven't watched the documentary, right? I haven't had access to anything other than there was a coup that was planned on Venezuela, right? And to essentially to snag Maduro and kind of remove him from his presidency. Now, I know this is probably way far off from what exactly is, but from the notes that I have is that you are involved in this in some capacity, whether it is to control the whole thing, like the leader of it all, or something, and then it all went south. And so I would love to hear and understand, one, what is your, I guess, role in Operation Gideon, and as well as like, how did this come about?
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, and where we're at now with this?
Okay. So this was in 2019. This is back when, the Free Venezuela movement, I guess, was going pretty crazy. This was after the 19 April, I guess it was your popular rebellion style coup that Leopoldo Lopez and Juan Guaido tried to pull off. And I think they had the help from the CIA. That failed because they did not have military support. So, I was at that point, I think I had just come back from, oh wow, I had just come back from Hurricane Maria, in Puerto Rico. I had basically half the island. I was running teams to kind of restore, power and Wi-Fi to the island. Anyways, I come back from Puerto Rico. I start my company, or I have the companies going, and I'm doing school shooting, prototyping for colleges and whatnot.
What unit are you with right now, or who are you working with?
I was private. I was just private.
So you were private sector this time. You at this time already had left the military.
Yeah, built the company. Yep, exactly.
Okay, working private contracting. Got it.
Yeah, right. And so I was basically just doing what I do, and I was doing other things internationally. I was working in various capacities in other countries and doing things that guys like me do. I was approached by Donald Trump. This guy was the head of White House operations, and he was there until 2019, I believe. But he worked, and he was
Do you know
not
his name.
Keishler. So I was there under, working this part of it. Sorry, I'm approached and I'm recruited to do this work, and this is well outlined in all the FBI 302s, and there's several people who were kind of in this meeting, and some people, we didn't have anything to do with it. And I was in the bathroom when we were talking. Look, it's irrefutable, right? I've seen the 302s, I've seen the evidence, and as is everybody else. The fact is, I didn't know anything about these folks. I didn't go to them. I didn't know they existed, but they came to me. Now, the backdrop of this, to understand, is very important. This is back right after the Russia collusion hoax, where the FBI, CIA, whoever it was going after Trump's people. I think they went after, Roger Stone, and they went after, General Flynn, and all of that. The stuff that just got overturned, I think maybe a few months back. Basically, they were pardoned for the Russia collusion hoax thing, and it was a honeypot. It was a honeypot operation by the FBI to kind of sting to get these guys. The bottom line is there was almost like civil war in the White House. You had Trump administration in there. Trump was a new president. He didn't quite understand the lay of the land. The State Department was very prickly to anybody in the Trump administration who was loyal to the president. And so the presidents, tasked the CIA with flipping Venezuela or removing Maduro and putting in, fair and free, or instituting fair and free elections and whatnot. The CIA was dragging their feet. There's actually a wonderful article. It's well sourced. It's a Wired article, and it talks about, and it's sourced by CIA agents, and they talk about all of what I'm saying, and most of what I'm about to say next comes from the article. So it was clear that Donald Trump wanted to actually get this done. It was his intention to get fair and free elections for Venezuela, but he was unable to use the full strength of the CIA because they were reluctant. And if you want to, the big action is obviously when Mike Pompeo basically, shuts down the embassy in Caracas. Well, if you're going to do any kind of coup or stage any kind of change or really develop assets with any access and placement throughout the regime, you're going to need an embassy to do it because CIA assets work throughout the embassy. You can also take a look at Operation Money Badger. This was leaked. This was a DEA operation. Again, it kind of shows how a lot of the ill-gotten gains by the Venezuelan opposition, like Juan Guaido and whatnot, were kind of secure. There's a lot of nefarious characters throughout this, but I digress. This is the backdrop. So you have, let me make it simple. You have the white hats-ish who are, the people who recruit me, right? These guys recruit me. These are Trump's inner circle. There's an entity called Global Governments that have a lot of, the guys have high-level contacts in the White House. And then at the other side of it, you have the Venezuelan opposition government who they're trying to make a deal with, right? Which ultimately what happens is these individuals, the Venezuelan opposition, are working with the CIA. And this again is, I read about it in the discovery materials, right?
If you're looking for a recovery shake that actually does its job, check out Formula One from First Form. It's a rapid digesting whey protein isolate made for post-workout recovery. That means that it gets into your system fast to help the muscles repair and cut down soreness. It mixes ultra smooth, it's easy on your stomach, and it tastes legit. All the flavors are good, but for me, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is hands down the best one. Plus, it's NSF certified for sport and Informed Choice certified, so you know it's clean. First Form is giving free shipping on orders over $100, and if you don't love it, they'll give you your full refund. Hit the link in the description and grab Cinnamon Toast Crunch Formula 1 today. If you're into quality gear, you need Tac Pack, a monthly subscription box loaded with tactical gear from the top brands like Battle Arms Development, 9line, 511, and more. You can choose from Tac Pack Standard, $59.95 shipped with $90 to $120 worth of products, or Tac Pack Plus, $139.95 shipped with $240 to $300 worth of product. This September, Tac Pack Plus is stacked with over $330 worth of gear, including Battle Arms Development, 9line, and Next Level Armament. Use code Ironclad at tacpack.com for a free $70 tactical gift, pushing your value past $400. Tac Pack, gear you'll actually use. So the people who invite you to task you with this is not the CIA at the time, right? It is, and it's not the FBI, because there's such a confusion of who's supporting the president at this time. It is a different entity, or if it's just more of an individual, like, hey, we're going to task you with this, or we can't say, we won't mention.
These are government individuals. These are ex-government individuals who have incredible amount of influence in the White House. Who connected me with people who are working in the government, who had connections with the National Security Council, who worked directly under, very powerful people in the White House.
Yeah.
So
got it.
I am now tasked with figuring this out. And so ultimately, fast forward, I get and obviously there's certain things I need, right? I need the authorization at the highest levels. And I'm a soldier, just like you. So it's not like, the general comes up to you and says, we verify the people that are in our chain of command. We understand that they are who they say they are. So in this instance, I did my due diligence and I researched everybody who I came in contact with and I was in the room with, and obviously who was dealing with me. And then going back through the government, these individuals are going back through the government, answering my RFIs and anything else I needed to facilitate. And this kind of comes in later. I needed certain actions facilitated. And so these government employees went to the National Security Council individuals or the State Department to facilitate my necessities. And so they were they were working with me in the government to get this done.
So what was the timeline and what exactly did they task you with, in the sense of like, hey, here's exactly what we need. Here's whatever money you need, we can cover. But like, what was it that was told to you that were like, okay, let's green light. But what was the task that was needed to be done? Take out Maduro?
No. So listen, everybody wanted the guy. Everybody wanted, but for me, I don't care about whether somebody gets, it's complicated. Back then you had three pieces to it that was difficult, right? Like you have Diosdado, you have Tariq, and you have Maduro. These are the three pieces that you kind of have to, this triumvirate, if you will, that has to be dealt with. And to be perfectly honest, from my intelligence, and I had access and placement deep within all of the camps, I didn't care if these guys had escape plans to get out of the country if they were being pressured at the tactical level by units. And so they were going to they were going to enact their escape plans. I didn't care if they escaped, to be perfectly honest. I just wanted them out. And the truth is, whether we captured them or it didn't matter to me. And obviously it's for guys like us, we want to capture. There's obviously hard feelings between a lot of the Venezuelans, and they want them killed. I'm not interested in that, right? Like I'm interested in doing the best job I can. And I think that obviously if you capture individuals, you can hold them accountable. If you kill them, then you can't. And there's something lost in that. There's justice lost in that, right? So
We learned that in Iraq really easy.
we did.
People who you capture speak and give more intel. More intel follows on new missions. New missions follow and get more bad guys.
Right. We essentially, what we learned in the GY, which is what we learned that, which is what any good cop should know. And we're not cops, we're warfighters, but you have to run your evidence collection chain in parallel with your targeting chain. I just think we do it way better than everybody else in JSOC.
Yeah.
We're just better at it.
So was there an outright, here's your mission? Or was it more of a, based on your expertise and your experience in the military, they obviously knew your background and said, here's the intent of this mission and here's the goal that we want to achieve? Is that, or was it directly like, here's the 3 guys we want you to go after?
No, so it's like any human style op that you're going to do. And look, you know as well as I do. I mean, Rangers have their own human section, and
Yes, we do.
you can read about it in any novel, right? There's a way of doing it. You gain access placement and whatnot, but these operations are sensitive, and so unless you're the man on the ground, it's really hard for anybody from a strategic standpoint to dictate exactly what's going to happen at a tactical level. They just don't have the experience. They don't have the understanding.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
Furthermore, there's always the op within the op, right? There's the op that everybody thinks is happening, and then there's the op that's really happening, right? And obviously,
yeah, go ahead.
I think you read between the lines, right? Like if you watch the movie, you can read between the lines and try to understand. I think the movie in some parts falls short of explaining the intricacies at the tactical level. But look, they did the best they could. They're directors, man. They're not operators.
Yeah.
And so, but there are some critical pieces that I think they do fall short on. But that's, I think that's, like I said, that's understandable. They're movie directors and stuff.
So how long did it take for you to prepare for the day that Operation Gideon happened? How long was the time?
Yeah, the op was about 1.5 years. I mean, I had to secure, obviously, authorization from the U.S. at the highest level, which I did. I had to secure a SOFA status agreement, as you know. You were in Iraq. We need a status of foreign forces, which I secured that for my company. I need to be able to operate inside Venezuela, right? And I had to have an understanding with the Colombian president, which I did. And so this took time, right? And I had to develop assets in Venezuela that had access and placement to the leadership in Venezuela, which I did. This was the hardest, simply because there is a lot of oppositional allegiances among, obviously, one of the generals I was working with didn't play nice in the sandbox with the president of the recognized President Juan Guaido, and the President Juan Guaido and Leopoldo Lopez in that camp was working with the CIA. And as I said, I mean, you had a group of people trying to you had three people in this. You had the group that was trying to profit from it, which was global governments. This was the White House side. And you had the group that was trying to oppose the White House people because they wanted to profit from it, which was CIA / Venezuelan opposition. And they obviously wanted to hurt the president at the time because that was just, an extra objective for them. And the third group were the people that I was working with who were we wanted to liberate the country, right? We just wanted to do it. We weren't going to, there's the money. People were overjoyed in Venezuela that we were trying this. To this day, people still come up to me and they're Venezuelan and I know, thank you very much. But the point is, anytime you're doing an operation like this, it is tricky because you have all of these people with different motivations, different desires. And to be perfectly honest, the Venezuelan opposition was getting paid very well, right? I mean, we're missing, what is it? One guy was being sued in court because he stiffed several contractors out of billions, right? So where'd that money go? Nobody knows. He's never been investigated. Leopoldo Lopez never investigated.
Yeah, that's a question I had, is like, who funded this operation for you to get informants, assets? All this costs money, a team, guys to commit to who stay loyal to you. So how does this get funded? Is it through your private company,
No,
or
this
does the
is
government
all.
offer to support?
So to be perfectly honest, this is you know the deal. So a guy like me, I have to be able to traverse the tactical, the strategic, the logistic, the political, the diplomatic, the business layers, all of these layers, and I have to be able to do it seamlessly. And so if I have to put on my business hat and try to find money, I will do that, right? And ultimately, when my word is given, it's good. And so when these guys, I said, I went down there and it broke my heart, man. I remember, and you know this, man, like banging it out in the streets of, Iraq, and you're like in Mosul or you're in Baghdad, and you do have Iraqis with you. And some of those dudes were hardcore, like the ICTF back in the day. They're great fighters, man. They are on par with what we what we are, and they're courageous. And so a guy like me, I looked at the Venezuelans who were essentially kicked out of their country because they stood up in 19 April. And I wanted to help these guys. I wanted to do it. And so I gave them my word. I will help you do this.
I want to thank our partners over at Ammo Squared. They've built what they call America's Ammunition Reserve. Basically, this is an ammo savings account. You can sign up, pick from more than 70 different calibers. You can set an auto-buy budget and either choose a shipping schedule, or you can just let your personal reserve grow. Over time, your ammo stacks up and is stored for free in their climate-controlled facilities in Texas and Idaho until you are ready to ship. There are no minimums, there's no extra fees. It works whether you have a small budget or you just don't want to drop a few grand all at once. Thank you so much, Ammo Squared, for providing this cool service and for supporting the show.
They were ghosts. Who are these guys?
I've never heard this before.
Right behind me, we have armed police. They're ready for sort of riot patrol.
I'm Sean Ryan, and I'm hosting the new Ironclad original, Target Intelligence PSYOP.
We're not framing history correctly.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
It's an Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
An Ironclad original.
Let's talk about Gideon real quick one more time, because I wanna try and clarify a few things and I see your point now. I do see where you're coming from. As much as someone has tasked you with a mission, you start to see the human side of it and wanted to help those who are oppressed. Your motto in life, right? The other side of it, there's two different entities though. There's one side that wants the money, one wants the power. And so you're also having to work with pleasing all parties in that, because that's who gives you access to go ahead and help and assist in this effort.
Correct.
You've been able to build a little bit of an army. You're going to help these exiles from Venezuela take back their country from your perspective. The mission happens and it fails. Why does it fail? I don't know the details. I read one boat was immediate contacts, 8 were killed. The other boat was captured. You asked for help, you asked for assistance, no one came to, it's essentially no one's answering. They left you hanging. And then the next thing in my notes is that you publicly posted on social media what's happening at that moment.
Yeah.
And then all hell breaks loose on what the heck is going on.
Right. So let's take it.
You look, and I'm going to keep going real quick just to give the audience this. You look like someone who either has done it on his own and embarrassed his country in a sense, or the other side of it is, or you're this secret spook kind of guy that the government set up to go overthrow the government over there, or to take out Maduro. And there's a lot of different narratives that are being spun throughout this whole conversation.
Right. So
am I close?
Yeah. So yes, exactly. You're spot on, man. And the last part is this. Let me speak to the, am I the crazy mercenary? Am I the lone gunman who just wants the bounty, which when when I started this, it was a year. The bounty didn't come out for much later, like over a year. Or am I the spy guy who is what he says he is? And right. Let me just say this. I have done ops that were far more difficult than this. This was almost handed. It wasn't quite handed on a silver platter, but the conditions were favorable for this simply because I was able to gain access and placement in the country. The powerful people who were next to the leadership in Venezuela wanted it. I met with several presidents, world leaders, diplomats, very powerful people to facilitate this. The only reason a human being can get in a room with these individuals is because they know what they're doing. They have been trained to do it. The only reason that I can get a contract signed by a geopolitical strategist like Rendon, he's a smart guy, is because I have been trained to work in the room extensively and to win in the room. When I am in the room with, whether it's business or whether it's, geopolitical affairs or whatever it is, I play by a very strict set of rules. And these rules were taught to me over a long career in human intelligence. I win in the room because I was taught to win in the room. I don't go in there willy-nilly. And then furthermore, I do not plan operations that are ostentatious and are destined to fail. I plan operations that are simple enough to where when I look at my risk matrix, that the chance they succeed is far greater than failure. And it's because of simplicity, as we are. This is obviously a strategic all the way down. And so when we're running around, running and gunning in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, wherever, we do the same thing, special operators, right? As JSOC or whatever, as just operators in general, even soldiers. We make it simple. So I would honestly say that the narrative that was spun against me, there's a reason for that. And I think if you know that the CIA has been opposing me, you would know full well that the narrative creation abilities by the intelligence agencies are great. There was a friend of mine who spoke to somebody who he was working with in the, he was in the AOB in Bogota, Colombia. And Colombian intelligence went into the AOB and they asked this individual to spin the narrative against me when this was going terribly. This individual was a green suiter, a PSYOPs guy, and he told the Colombian intelligence, we do not do this against U.S. citizens.
I'll say this real quick. I'm a PSYOPer as well. And I already know the answer to that.
Right. So you know very well that if the intelligence community is involved, then they will aggregate. And if you look, it's no secret. You have the Rolling Stone, like all of these, who was it? The AP, and you have all these individuals. And if you read the very first article that came out from the AP, the guy he had no idea what he was talking about. He's talking about the ground, and it was completely out to lunch. And yet the intelligence communities and whatnot, and his sourcing was predominantly Venezuelan opposition and /CIA assets.
Oh, funny. So everything who would be the opposite of the support that you on your side.
Right.
Let me ask you this real quick. How many American citizens were supporting you in this effort? Was there other soldiers involved?
I had two guys, but I also had government guys working the government. And
right, but how about for the op, you had two other military members supporting?
Mm-hmm.
And what was their backgrounds?
They were Green Berets.
Green Berets as well?
Yeah.
And were those the two that were captured?
Yes.
Okay, and then currently right now, they support everything you're saying, or are they throwing a counter narrative?
That I don't know. So look, I haven't talked to them. When they came back, and oddly enough, when they came back, nobody knew it. Nobody had a clue. I had reporters contacting me, and these reporters, I mean, it was months after they had already been home, and the reporters didn't know. They thought they were still in captivity. There was very little talked about when it came to my guys coming back. This is, you have to understand, this entire case is highly political. I mean, at the
it's crazy. I have several documents, so that's why it is way more fascinating than we're going to be able to get put out on this episode. You know what I mean? There's so many layers to it. It's a deep, and I'm excited to see the documentary in hopes to learn more about this.
Right.
But, you know, what I find fascinating is that once you were asking for support, it kind of went on deaf ears.
Right.
And so from that point forward, did the government just deny being a part of it, deny supporting it, deny just the whole thing? So then it kind of left you out to dry?
Yes, exactly. This is exactly what happens, right? So the government, so the individuals that I was working with and communicating with, they were acting as essentially cutouts. And let me just say, they wanted me to meet with the president. And I refused. I needed to give the president deniability.
So did the president know about this, or still to this point, the plausible deniability is what we were looking for?
So what is represented to me is that absolutely 100%. I have 100% authorization to do this, like 100%. But I never wanted to go in front because you know the deal.
Understood.
There has to be a layer of deniability. Obviously, that with Juan Guaido, you know, when he was a president, he signs a contract with me. He's not. I don't need to give him deniability, and I did not.
Yeah.
I think this is why Rendon hates me so much, right? It's because I took things from him in the room that. I mean, I got everything I needed in the room. SOAP status agreement. I got the contract signed by the president of Venezuela. And there was no cancellation for convenience. There were several pieces in that contract that were very specific.
What is this contract you're talking about? Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, I had a contract with the president of Venezuela to facilitate the removal of Maduro.
You had, interesting. So you have that contract.
Yeah, had the contract.
And so that's something like that is what's protected you this whole time.
I mean, I don't think I'm protected. I am in federal. I am in, you know, I have been indicted in federal court, which is funny because none of these other, you know, none of my co-conspirators, which include possibly, you know, several presidents of different countries, they're not. So even, you know, Juan Guaido, who signed the contract, he's living large, right? So,
well, I'm going to back up real quick because then I want to get to that.
Sure.
Why did the plans fail? You said that you planned things that have a high probability of success, and then it failed. What was it that caused it to fail?
So there was a moment where the Venezuelan opposition / CIA assets / CIA intelligence community flips against us.
Got it. So they knew that you weren't going to give them what they were looking for.
Yeah.
So they went ahead and gave them early warning. Was that the article that went out previously before you guys did it?
Yeah, probably. But look, you'll understand this. I mean, let me ask you this as an operator, right? When you're going into a neighborhood and you're about to do bad things and you're in country, does the enemy typically know your troop strength? Do they know your makeup, right? As Rangers. So like for us, they know. Yeah. They've seen, you know what I mean? Like, so they have seen us before. They know our strike forces. If we're coming as a strike force, they know. They know our makeup and our composition. They don't know when we're coming. They have no idea. They don't know where we're going. But they know.
Now I get you.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So, you know, and there's this is in the movie. There's a big differentiation, and they don't really nail it. There's some confusion because it's a civilian who's talking, and he says, "Well, they had a hard compromise." There's no hard compromise, right? Like A hard compromise is when we're up. A hard compromise is what happened to the boat that got, who the GPS coordinates were given to by intelligence community / assets that were in the boat. And we know this because there was communication going on between the DNI and people in the boat, right? This has been reported in.
Man, so that's so wild, man, because I've had CIA agents on here, and it's just very interesting how the CIA has a mission, whatever their specific mission is. It doesn't matter who's in the way of that mission. Their mission is the most important for them. And so in this conversation, you have your mission. You're working together with CIA as well. They know what's happening, and eventually they know that you're not going to side with them and their goal. And so they flip on you.
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to oppose the commander-in-chief and his intent of this op, right? Like, I am not going to do that. They, however, they will do that. And they did do that, right?
Wow.
Here's what I believe, right? And I believe that this at a core level. I'm a soldier, right? I was a soldier. You're a soldier. An American. I don't understand like the whole burning Americans, and I'm never going to. I was a human intelligence guy, and I don't, but maybe there's a badge of honor that, CIA guys, they have, yeah, I did this to this. Maybe they're in that community, that's what it is. But for us, it's just not interesting to me. I don't want to burn America.
Yeah, I hear you. It's to be fair, like I said, the CIA goes, if there's a mission that might feel terrible, but it's still for the greater of mankind in their opinion, is how they justify these things.
Okay.
I imagine it's just a challenging job to do either way.
Here's how
and I'm not saying I agree. I'm saying there's enough stories the CIA is like, holy smokes, that's a crazy choice to make.
There's another component to this, right? And so the CIA, they want to hurt Trump and they want to impose their will on Trump. And there's tons of evidence of this that's been brought out back then. Now it's, I don't know. But the other part of this is that, and this is very relevant. The CIA, as evidenced by the work of Gary Webb and as evidenced by, if you've ever seen the Tiller Russell documentary, it's called The Last Anarch. There is a precedent. And, to be honest, the CIA they facilitate the drug trade internationally. This is not conjecture. This is not, this is reality. It's well documented. And so the implication of that is that they were working somehow with the regime to absolutely facilitate some of the movement of drugs throughout, the world, I suppose, if that's the case.
So that was
maybe that
interesting. That was their agenda.
Well, listen, they protected Maduro. Right, they protected him, and they wanted to hurt Trump, but they didn't want to do their job, which was to remove Maduro, and so it fell on. So obviously, the commander-in-chief tries to find another option, and look, these guys were desperately looking for options, and they stumbled upon me, which okay, and so it was basically crazy. you had the White House folks trying to get Maduro out, and then you had CIA / Venezuelan opposition trying to keep him in, pretending they wanted this done, right? But really, they're making so much money through grants and drug trade and the billions of humanitarian aid, right, that are being funneled into the Venezuelan opposition through Guaido, all these people's organizations and whatnot. And this is the reality. And so what happens is the guys on my team who really just wanted to flip, who wanted fair and free elections, we get burned, right? And so we are continuing to get burned. The lady who is my co-defendant, she is, let's be honest, all she did was try to liberate her country. And the United States is trying to burn her for that, which I have a real problem with that, right? Like
So let me walk the audience through this. So you do the op, it fails. You go public with what's happening because
go ahead.
Yeah. So why did you post on social media? Hey, this is what happening.
This is why. Because my guys are now in their E&E corridor. They have to escape and evade. Now, look, if I'm a CIA guy, then I just leave and I go to some country and nobody sees me again and people can figure it out at the end. But these are my guys. They're my Green Beret brothers. And so I need to take care of these dudes. And so I basically go to the world and I say, listen, and I know I'm going to and I got annihilated, man. Yeah, the media destroyed me. But I tried my best to delay the inevitable. I tried to alert the world that there are Green Berets at risk. I went on Twitter and I tweeted out, it was like the only tweet I made in my life back then, which was, I tweeted to Donald Trump and as a cry of help, right? Like we were up against it. We were obviously sold out by the CIA/Venezuelan opposition /DNI, who had the GPS coordinates. That said, I needed to make the world aware that this was happening. So because I wanted to save the lives of my men.
Absolutely. I completely understand that. I don't fault you for any of that at all. Just for the story's sake, the person who originally asked you to do this mission stopped answering the phone or just broke contact completely?
Broke contact. Broke.
Wow.
Everybody did. I tried to. This is the crazy part. So this is the crazy part. My boat breaks. The original op was essentially I had somebody going to do an OPE. For the audience, I had somebody go in and prepare safe house vehicles. There was an op inside of an op, right? There's an op and an op. You have the guys on the surface who are going there, and they're the kind of the face. But then you have the team that's going to do the link up in a civilian boat, which is going to pull into a civilian marina. Meanwhile, you have these military-esque individuals doing low-level military operations to kind of distract and confuse, while you have the element that's going to do the link up with the high-level assets that have access and placement to Maduro and the boys. When I lose the boat because the boat breaks, oddly enough, there was a CIA asset in Jamaica. I don't know what he was doing, or there was a CIA agent, as reported by, I think it was Daily Mail, that was in Jamaica, not sure why they were there. It was reported that they told me that I had to call off nobody ever made contact with me. But I do believe there was a CIA guy there because my boat, it was very strange that the way that it broke. So bottom line is it takes me a week. I get picked up. My men are on the border of Colombia, Venezuela, and they are much like Macbeth. They are weighted in blood so deep that to turn back would be the gravest of errors, right? They are encircled now by the ELN, which is like the FARC. They are a guerrilla organization, and they are being hunted and pushed into the sea because they have now been sabotaged. We are now sabotaged. We are now, the Venezuelan opposition /CIA folks decided, hey, we need to push we need to stop this or whatever it is. It takes me a week to get back to the mainland. Look, I tried to abort the operation from Jamaica once the general was arrested by, you have a general getting arrested, and he is the most staunch opponent of Maduro, and the Americans arrest him. And so my people in Venezuela close to Maduro, they are now questioning me. They're like, is this real? Is this guy trying to hem us up? Like, is he going to arrest us?
Damn.
Or is he trying to...
What a mess.
Right. So it confuses my assets inside Venezuela. But we back up. Let's back up. And so I aborted the operation to go get my men. I have a feeling, and this is conjecture, but I have a feeling that my boat was sabotaged. I get very close to the coast of Colombia, boat breaks, and now I can't abort the mission and get my men out. So I get a Chinese tanker, get back to the United States, and I want to say it's a few weeks. I've got a few weeks to try to get them. I'm contacting the people who recruited me. I'm contacting the people and I get stonewalled. And so at this point, the ELN is really pressuring my men, pushing them into the sea. They can either try to go through Colombia and get captured, whatever it's going to be, by the ELN, which have orders, or they can try to make a shot at the op, right? And so, I do my risk matrix, and it's horrible, right? There's two terrible decisions, Vince, right? I have a really bad decision, send them towards the ELN and try to E&E through. And then I have the other bad decision, move forward with a crippled operation. I'm not hard compromised. The enemy knows some of the makeup, right? They kind of know a few things, but they don't have everything. And so I choose a bad choice, but there was no other solution, right? I looked into, and I racked my brain. Hey, maybe they can take a boat and just go to Curacao. Maybe they can do all these things. But ultimately, this is the choice. It's a bad choice, but the other choice was worse.
Yeah.
So we move forward. And it is clear at this point, it is not clear. I did not know at this point that we were, the DNI was speaking to people who were with the boats, and had GPS coordinates, right? And I mean, the DNI.
For the audience, DNI?
Intelligence community, right? ODNI is Office of, National Intelligence. It's the high level. I did not know that. And so moving forward, well, yeah, the boat, obviously, if you are pinging a satellite and the enemy knows where you are, they're going to find you. Needle and whatever, they're going to. Now, obviously, because the landfall locations were different in the original imagining of this, with 3 boats as opposed to 2, it changes things. So this is why the thing eventually fails, is because, I hate to say it, man, but we were sold out by Americans.
Yeah.
Maduro didn't really have to do anything. This whole notion where Maduro he didn't have to do anything. He had to pick up his phone. And it really was Cabello that they were communicating with. So that
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you get sold out.
I get sold.
You post it on social media.
Mhm.
Now this is public information. People are like, what is this? Some conspiracy theory? What's going on? Has it hit national news yet that this attempted coup had happened?
Oh, yeah. It was COVID, man. So the news cycle was COVID dominant. And so I think it existed for maybe a few days, but the reality is it was put on and pulled off as quickly as possible. I mean, as quickly as possible. Pompeo, basically the guy who, he's a CIA guy, right? He's the guy, he says, we lie, we cheat, we steal. He goes on and says, we had no direct involvement, which the implication is he had indirect involvement, but the truth is they were directly involved. They had assets, right? So the two Venezuelans in the very first meeting that I took were both Venezuelan assets, or both CIA assets. And I know this because it says it right in the FBI 302s, right? This is all in black and white at this point.
So at what point do you start getting in trouble for this? At what point do you get arrested?
Yeah. So 4.5 years later, they arrest me in New York City. I am attending film school. I'm living in the city. And this is the, nothing to see here, but I get arrested on my birthday. Somebody in Washington really hates me, man. Really has an influence on me. I get arrested 4.5 years later, and it's right before the film comes out. I think it's like a week before it premieres in Toronto Film Festival. And it's right before, the run up to the election, and the indictment is initiated from let me get this right. It's basically the national security section of the, it's a very high national security section of the DOJ. And oddly enough, the guy who runs that section right now is a guy named John Eisenberg, and he was in the White House. He was a national security advisor under Trump, working with Keith Schiller, because he was the head of White House operations, the guy who recruited me. But, it's just coincidence, man. Come on.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
what charges are they trying to pin on you right now?
They're trying to say that, I shipped, it's ITAR violations, basically. But when you read through the discovery, there is a section in the discovery where in Colombia, people there's a car that gets stopped and there's a whole whack of guns in the back. And this is all I'll say about this. There's 2 military-age males in the back seat and there's a military-age male in the front seat. The military-age male gets processed. The 2 men in the back, they get released. They didn't even get identified. Yeah. And then, strangely enough, the man who gets pulled over, he mysteriously dies
Oh, wow.
a year later. Yeah, but there's nothing. This is all on the level, Vince.
So what sounds like is, okay, let's just,
This was all part of the sabotage, right? Again, it's not that hard.
It's starting to unravel more and more, like,
Yes. It is more
interesting.
It is more convenient for me to be in jail for these very powerful people who initiated this against me. And I know for a fact that they are really these individuals. But here's the deal. They recruited me to do this and then they left us high and dry. Right? They left us high and dry. They could have very easily, and look, one of the first calls that was made was to a certain admiral who launched a naval group back then, similar to what the naval group is now, is a destroyer group back then. And this is a group that I actually requested through the guy I was dealing with in the White House. I want naval support. Okay, no problem. And so this naval group launches. It would have been, the point is this, it would have been very easy for them to just have sent a boat over and pick up my dudes or work by with and through the Colombians to do that instead of activating the Colombian military to come and, shoot my men down.
So where are you at right now in the process of everything?
I am in the middle of pretrial punishment, which, no, really, I mean, it's I'm trying to stay out of jail so I can build the case, which is, I mean, look, man, I'm not worried about the case. I'm more worried about going to jail than I am about the case. To be honest, I don't want to get stuck. Look, I haven't run. I'm here. I mean, I work as a business strategist on a volunteer basis because, I have to do something and I'm not really allowed to, I'm completely restricted, right? There's not a lot I can do.
Yeah.
I do this because.
So you're just you're just gathering evidence to protect yourself for when he goes to trial.
Yeah, but and here's the problem, because it's so classified and heavily classified and it's a big waiting game. And so what the government does, what the intelligence community does is they just stall you out. They stall you out. And what the DOJ does is they just whittle people down. They try to get them in jail and they try to make it incredibly hard and they try to, burn through all your resources and whatnot. And this is the game plan.
And how about the 2 other gentlemen that you were with? What's going on with them?
They're back home living their lives.
And they're not being held to the same as you? No?
No, neither are. So 2 of them, the 2 guys who basically I had the most contact with, they have a new business venture and they are obviously closely associated with the President of the United States. And so they are now in Greenland doing another deal a resource deal there. Among other things. I mean, these guys are living their lives.
So right now, you're the scapegoat. You're the one they pinned everything on right now, and you're trying to fight your way out of this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How do you feel your success is going to be on this?
This is the problem, right? Like, so the president right now, he was the same president back then, and he has the executive order, weaponization of the federal government. Well, this is what it is. This is the whole thing, right? It's weaponization. You're weaponizing the federal government against a guy who, quite obviously, the people in power, and left or right, who have a vested interest in seeing me burn and silenced, right? And this is, I don't have the millions of dollars it takes to pay for the pardon and for the, so here I am, man. What is and I think I think guys like you and I take an oath of the Constitution because we believe in that. It's not until now that I realized that that Constitution, that idea of the Constitution, it's not real anymore, right? Like the Constitution has been completely modified to the point where by laws, by guys not like us, by lawyers, it is unrecognizable. And if you look at a lot of the laws in place, Bail Reform Acts and things of this nature that really make it hard for individuals, especially soldiers. One of the things they come at me with in court all the time is, well, he has special skills as a soldier where he can escape anytime. Yeah, maybe I do. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, sure, I could go anytime I want to. Good luck finding me. I can take off anytime. But the reality is this: I stay here and I put myself through it and I allow this process to take place because I want to know. I want to see it. Let's see if the DOJ is really on the level, which I don't know that it's not as an institution, man. You know as well as I do. We saw it in the J6ers. It's not. But like I said before, I believe in people, and I believe in some of the people who work in this system, and I think they're good people, man. I think there's still good people in systems. There was a good cop, man. He was a pretrial guy up north. This guy protected me. You know, and he didn't. It's not like he did it because he liked me. He did it because it was his job, and he did. He protected me from some of the nonsense that went on down in this district. This is Pam Bondi's district, by the way. This is Pam Bondi's district. I mean, it's like this, all the connections. Oh, and Kash Patel's in my discovery, by the way, and he's friends with these guys. And it's like these connections are, oh, wow, what a coincidence. The bottom line is this: I want to believe, and I've seen it, right? I've seen people in this justice system who do their jobs, and they're on the level, man. And then I've seen some that they're not.
Well, where can we, as an audience, go watch this movie?
It's on pay-per-view, or it's Amazon, Apple TV.
What's the title of it right now?
Men of War.
It's a documentary, and you can find it on Amazon right now. Right. And it tells your story, obviously, as best it possibly could tell your story.
Yes. There's obviously nuances where it's like they didn't get certain things right. But
you still have Twitter?
I have Twitter. It's Jordan G. Goudreau. Don't ask me how to spell that, but it's right down at the bottom. So it's Jordan G. Goudreau, G at the bottom. But I'm on Twitter. I don't post much. I have a website. It's www.jordangoudreau.com.
But Jordan, man, I really appreciate it, dude. This is like a bonkers story, man. Like, this is nuts. And I really appreciate you being able to spend time with us, tell us a story. I know this is pretty much an exclusive for us for your story. We're really excited to hear that, you gave us an opportunity to tell this story. I hope we do it justice. It was just to let you have the place to speak and tell your story, man.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, Vince, this is such a complicated story.
It is.
When you watch the movie, it's like super condensed, and they do the best they can. So in this setting, I think that we do the best we can, right?
Absolutely. Well, brother, I'm here for you if you need me. You message me if you need anything else from me, if I can help in any way.
Great. Thanks, Vince. It's great talking to you.
Thank you for listening to Borderland Narcosis, an Ironclad original presented by none other, First Form Supplements. Don't forget to pick up some First Form supplements at firstform.com/Borderland. Until next time.